Sada imam zadovoljstvo predstaviti i jedinog među nama predstavnika realnog sektora, gospodine Áldott, izvolite.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the government of Croatia and the organizers for this kind invitation to speak maybe from the different experience of business, which may be relevant for economic governance going forward. But as the organizer couldn't put a flag, probably the reason behind is that I'm representing a Croatian-Hungarian joint venture, which has basically partners in the names of government of Croatia and a large regional oil group MOL. And they have a very concerted effort to create from this entity, getting back to its earlier shine, maybe 20, 25 years ago, and to turn it into the strongest South European regional oil group. Now, in general terms, I think we could learn that a lot of successful and tough experiences and efforts have been made in different parts of the world. It can be generally said, however, for companies and for the energy sector in particular, there was never such a large call on significant investments in infrastructure, in product quality, and on meeting new consumer demand. On the other hand, there was never such a harsh environment from a point of view of external environment, pricing, volatility than experienced today. So that represents the double and very significant challenge to the companies and energy companies in particular. However, I'd like to share, rather than speak too much about the and our experience, a little bit what it means, the competition between countries, and what it means, a call on the specific cooperation and partnership for the business sector and the governments. First of all, I think as there is competition between companies, there is also competition between countries and governments. And a very, very important part of it and arena of it is how impartial and how well-functioning governments are. And this represents now a main area of competition among the countries. You may see all kinds of international competitiveness measures, but in the long run, those measures boil down to how well and cost-effective governments are functioning. It's a tendency that successful and happy countries typically have good education, swift and impartial courts, transparent government decisions, and rules that are easy to understand and comply with. And government employees that are well-paid, efficient, and I can continue. Moving in that direction, of course, takes time, takes money, takes perseverance, takes tough decisions, but it's very worth doing, like similarly in the case of companies. Other interesting lesson and comparison between business world and governments is focus on core competencies. One big lesson from the private sector was in recent decades that no longer is the era of large conglomerates, but it's very focused and typically lean, precise, focused companies. This lesson could also be applied for governments. In our region, governments often want to do things that are not very well prepared to do by their function, like picking winners between industries, competing with the private sector, and directing capital spending. On the other hand, we tend to neglect some core competencies of the government, which you can mention. Government could provide excellent law and order, right protection of property rights, and very clear sets of rules for the business to play in. The third important point probably is putting forward a due process as opposed to hands-on solutions. And coming out from crisis management mode and still, I think, having these memories, it's very easy to get the temptation to deal with many problems one by one at the same time, and often informally, rather than creating rules, and therefore sparing for ourselves the trouble of designing systems, rules, and regulations. This approach may be good, especially in the short run, but it probably will backfire in the long run. On the other hand, we need to build trust, we need to build predictability with investors, domestic, foreign, and informal ad hoc solutions are not the best suitable means for that. Investors, be they foreign or domestic, wants to understand what they can expect, what the rules of the game are, and we believe that that could be a very wonderful force for the change for the future. The other, maybe now living 1 or 2 days before the decisive games on the World Championship of Football, so maybe one example from that, the best way probably is to nurture natural champions is to have also a heavy-hitting national championship. So following up from the points above, some unpredictable economic environments may benefit the domestic players, including us in this particular case, in the short run, but it will probably be the wrong time of incentive for domestic players. It will benefit players, maybe with the good connections, good lobby power, but not definitely the most competitive ones and most innovative ones. As in football, most competitive countries don't shelter the domestic markets from competition and end up with both an exciting national championship and competitive national teams that can stand on their own and they're abroad as well. One further lesson, I think, which applies for both companies and governments, is that we shouldn't trust the capital markets without strong reservations. While we are for the advantage and competition of markets, the capital markets currently are in the state of flux, and they are distorted by intervention, sometimes we could call perverse incentives. At one point, they may delude you with very cheap loans, like it was for many years, and the next, all financing could disappear in one day. I think some of you in government and business experience the same. It was also in Hungary, in Croatia, and I think like in the examples of Ireland, we could see. Both at the government and the corporate level, we have to take the extra care about the leverage and how we trust the price signals that we get from the market. So coming back to the starting remarks, basically speaking, we need to meet very significant challenges in terms of new investments. We have to renew an infrastructure, we have to connect markets, which requires very significant effort from both business and a very strong partnership between business and government. However, that really needs very clear rules, very clear sets of the game so that the business can earn predictable return and put the significant effort in place to increase the connectivity, increase the benefit for all countries involved. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.